So this is the same day as the previous video, with which I believe is her seventh ride. I just clipped it or cut it into a separate clip because we're gonna work on some trotting, and I didn't want the other one to be really long. So same day, I just had my ground person clip on the lead rope because I want him to help a little bit. So my idea was to transition from her to do from groundwork to riding. So I want, instead of him leading her, he's gonna be in like the lunging position, and then at first it'll be mostly him cueing her to do the trot, just like in the beginning with the walk, and then from there I can start taking over control a little at a time. So that's the plan. But she doesn't quite understand, and going forward is not usually like her default, like going into the trot or the canter. So that's kind of what we're doing. I'm just kind of doing a little review here, getting her to go forward. I'm trying to use the gate here to kind of motivate her to go forward. She's not very motivated to go forward though at this point. She doesn't. I don't think she quite understands. And what I also could have done is, if I wanted to keep using this process, what I should have done is I ask her to trot forward in hand because she doesn't really know how to do that anyway. So I'm not really merging the two things together because she's never really trotted in hand. I just lead her at a walk everywhere. So what I should do is go back, practice the trot on hand, which is good, which I'm doing here, and I'm kind of helping her out from behind. But I should have done that first. There we go. So now we got her into the trot. So I should have really ideally, and it's unfortunate because he doesn't really know a lot about horses. So like she was giving him the trot, but he was still like pulling on the lead rope. So that's giving her mixed signals. What I should have done as soon as she got into that trot is give her a treat, so she understands what we want is to get her into the trot. So I mean, if I back up, I originally should have done this first with myself and her, and just get her going forward at the trot, because then she knows it. I should have practiced that before this lesson. And the next problem that I had is getting her to go forward with my ground person who doesn't really know horses. So that was the other problem. Like, I can't even get her to go forward here, so that's not really helping anything either. There we go. And just like with, I think I'm gonna go get a retreat here, but just like with me getting her into the canter, she really needs a motivation to go into it. So I did give her the treat, but it's cut out. I really needed to have a treat on me right away so I could go ahead and reward her. So those are all the mistakes that I made here. Um, but yeah, it's a learning process. That's kind of what we did in the beginning. And I really think the lunging would have worked best instead of the leading. So then here I was like, well, let's try to do some lunging instead, because that's something she does already know. But my ground person doesn't, so it's kind of hard when I'm trying to have him do it, and then he doesn't know, and she's a little confused because she's kind of green to that. And especially with different, everybody has different cues for lunging. Like my cues don't look the same as his right now. So yeah, it's definitely made for quite a bit of confusion. So that's another thing to keep in mind. What I should have done instead was have a separate lesson with him lunging her, or if I wanted to stick with leading, with him leading her. Um, and that would have been best to just start with in the beginning, so that she understands that she's supposed to go forward the trot in hand, and she understands my ground person's cues for the trot, because she doesn't, either she doesn't understand them, or she's like, well, he's not going to necessarily make me do it, so then she just doesn't, which is kind of what she does. Because as you see here, I can get her to go forward because I'm used to it. Um, which happens with a lot of people, like a lot of beginners and beginner horses. But if I would have practiced this lunging first with him, that would have gone a lot smoother. So just some things to think about when you're doing the training, because he's struggling here with just figuring out how to lunge her. So like she's walking off and he's still swinging. He doesn't understand, but I want to point it out because it's a good example to do while I'm here. So I'm trying to train two things at once here, but so she's going forward and he's still like singing. So as soon as she kind of goes, even from a walk to a faster walk, we should have released and rewarded. Because now she's like, well, I don't get it. Like I've been walking faster, and the rope's still swinging. I don't understand. So this is a really good example of that, because that happens a lot in groundwork for sure. Is we're kind of thinking too far ahead, and we're not releasing when the horse is giving us a little try in that direction of that behavior that we're looking for. So like here, see, more swinging there. Better stop. There we go. Okay, so he did stop, but the timing is very important, and it's just kind of all over the place. So that was a good example of what not to do when lunging. Um, unfortunately for for my husband, he has to show you, but he doesn't know. He doesn't understand horses. He has no idea. Like I'm trying to coach him through last minute, which is also my fault. So planning is the key. So she finally kind of gets into a trot here. She knows she's going to get a little bit of a snack here. You can see her brighten up. So that's another thing. She definitely wants to participate more when there's something in it for her. So that's important. Okay, so we did get some trot moments out. So I guess I thought that was good enough at the time. Um, because I'm like, okay, she's getting into a trot. Like really, ideally, all I want for my trot under saddle is like one step. Um, so that is still consistent with what I do now, as I want one step and then I want two steps, three steps. I don't need to trot the whole round, but I don't need to trot on a trail ride immediately. Like that thing, those things are not important. I want to be very clear to her what it is that I want. And in this video, I wasn't necessarily doing that right away. But by doing the one step and rewarding it, or by reinforcing it negatively or positively, however, by either getting off of her or giving her a treat, I'm showing her exactly what it is that I want. If I just continue trotting, she's not gonna be completely clear. Like right there, that was perfect. She did a couple steps, kind of did a little trip, but that was really what I was looking for. But it was really my fault that I didn't set up the situation to where she was set up for success. But that did end pretty well. Like she figured it out, we did it, and I gave her a treat, and we ended the session. That was it. But this is what I was looking for. I just could have prepared her much better for it.